My ex-wife took everything in the divorce: the house, the car, most of the savings. According to the court, our marriage was a story of a successful woman and a man still finding his path. According to the settlement, that meant she walked away with 80% of what we owned. And I walked away with a couch that didn't fit in my new apartment. For a long time, I told myself that was just how life goes. Love ends, lawyers feast, and you pay tuition to the most expensive school in the world: experience. My name is Daniel Hart. I'm not stupid. I'm not perfect either. I'm the kind of man who reads contracts, who keeps receipts, who believes in playing fair even when it hurts. Our judge called me reasonable. My ex called me pathetic. As it turns out, she was closer to the truth than either of us knew. This is the story of how my ex took everything in the divorce, and how a few lines of random letters and numbers on an old backup drive led me to a hidden crypto wallet worth more than everything we ever declared to the court. This is not a story about crypto. It's a story about trust, greed, and the moment you realize the person you loved was running a completely different game in their head. And it starts with a sentence I heard on the worst day of my life. Daniel, you'll land on your feet. You always do. 3 years ago, I thought we were fine. Not perfect, not magical, but fine. Emma and I had been married for 8 years. She was the star, a corporate lawyer, with a talent for arguing things into existence. I was the creative one, a UX designer bouncing between contracts, always one big client away from finally making it. Our friends said we were balanced. What they meant was, she made the money, I made the dinners. The first crack didn't look like a crack at all. It looked like a raise. Emma got promoted to partner track. Bigger cases, bigger bonuses, bigger hours. I was proud. I was also lonely. Nights stretched, weekends blurred into her phone buzzing on the table during brunch. I joked about booking a dinner reservation with her assistant instead. She laughed. Then she stopped laughing. One night, she came home at nearly midnight, dropped her bag on the floor and said, "We need to talk." The conversation was short and sharp. "I'm not happy," she said. "I feel like I'm carrying this whole life on my back. You're still drifting." "I pay bills," I said. "I cook. I clean. I took a pay cut to go freelance so I could be home more when you started traveling." "That was your choice," she snapped. "And honestly, Daniel, sometimes it feels like you're more of a roommate than a partner." A month later, she'd thought long and hard and decided we needed a separation. 6 months after that, I was sitting across from her at a long wooden table in a room that smelled like paper and old coffee, listening to 2 lawyers and a mediator discuss my marriage like it was a company being liquidated. Emma had come prepared. Of course she had. She had spreadsheets, statements, a narrative. She was the high-earning partner supporting a spouse with unstable income. She talked about financial imbalance and the emotional burden of being the reliable one. My lawyer, a kind, overworked guy named Marcus, leaned over and whispered, "If we fight this, we're going to war with someone who writes these contracts for a living. The best we're likely to get is slightly less bad." In the end, we agreed to a settlement that felt like swallowing glass. She kept the house we'd bought together. She kept the car we used to fight over driving. She took the majority of our joint savings. I walked away with my personal account, my retirement fund, and a small cash payout that would disappear into moving costs and security deposits. I'm not going to pretend I was noble. I was just tired. Tired of arguing with someone who used to be my safe place. Tired of watching her lawyer smile every time I got upset. Tired of seeing that look on Emma's face like I was an obstacle she had to manage. When the judge banged the gavel, I felt something inside me go quiet. Not broken, just switched off. That night, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment with beige walls and a view of a parking lot. I slept on a mattress on the floor beside my boxes. My phone buzzed. A message from Emma. Daniel, you'll land on your feet. You always do. I hope there are no hard feelings. I stared at the screen until it went dark. Hard feelings. Right. For a year, I tried to build a new life from scratch. I got a decent contract with a fintech startup. I bought used furniture. I learned which grocery store had the best discounts at 9 p.m. I saw a therapist who kept telling me I had to process the grief. I did process it, slowly. I accepted that Emma had changed, that we wanted different things, that sometimes people grow apart and sometimes they just grow sharper. And then, almost by accident, I found the part of the story nobody had forced me to process. The part where she didn't just leave, she lied. It started with a tax form. My accountant, Nadia, emailed me in March. Hey Daniel, can you send me the USB drive with your old freelance files? I want to double check a deduction from 3 years ago. The drive was in a box I'd barely opened since the move. The box that said, old stuff, probably useless. I found the drive under a tangle of cables and dead pens. It was one of those cheap plastic ones Emma used to bring back from conferences. I plugged it into my laptop to make sure it still worked. Most of it was exactly what I expected. Old contracts, design files, an embarrassing folder of logo drafts I hoped no one would ever see. Then I saw a folder with a name that didn't fit. M Fiat 2 Crypto Backup. I froze. Emma is many things, but she is not creative with file names. I clicked it. Inside were screenshots, dozens of them. Some from 4, 5, 6 years ago, all from the same app. A crypto exchange Emma had sworn she never bothered with, because it's all fake money anyway. The balances weren't huge at first. 2,000 here, 5,000 there. A transfer in 2018 with the memo, bonus YOLO. I almost laughed. Then I kept scrolling. As the years went on, the screenshots changed. The interface updated. The numbers didn't just grow, they multiplied. 10,000, 40,000. One screenshot from a late night timestamp during the pandemic. A portfolio balance of $217,000. All in her name. All funded from accounts I recognized as our joint checking and her bonus account. None of it had ever appeared in our financial disclosures during the divorce. I checked the dates. Some screenshots were from months before she filed. Some were from right after, in the middle of negotiations. One was from the week we signed the settlement. My pulse started pounding in my ears. Maybe she cashed out, I told myself. Maybe she lost it all. Maybe this is just old. Then I saw the last screenshot. Dated 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Same app, same account. Portfolio value, $3.4 million. $3.4 million. I stared at the number until the zeros blurred. Then I remembered something from mediation. Emma's lawyer, smiling politely. Our position is that Emma has been transparent about all her assets. We are willing to sign a full disclosure clause. Full disclosure? I had signed that clause too. Under oath, believing we were both playing by the same rules. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm not ashamed either. I opened a browser and went to the login page for that exchange. The logo matched the screenshots. Emma had used the Remember Me function on our old laptop so often that my fingers hovered over the keys, typing her usual pattern before I even thought about it. I didn't guess a password. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I clicked Forgot Password. The screen asked for an email. I knew the email she always used for serious things. I typed it in. Verification code sent, the site said. to her email, her phone, her world. I shut the laptop. Whether the account still had 3 million or 3 cents in it, one thing was clear. During the divorce, Emma had hidden a massive asset class entirely, deliberately, repeatedly. I didn't understand every law around crypto, but I understood this much. You can't swear full financial disclosure to a court while quietly stocking away millions in a wallet no one knows about. I called Nadia, my accountant. "What do you want to do with this?" she asked after I walked her through everything. "Morally, emotionally, legally, it's a bomb." "I don't know," I said. "Part of me wants to forget I saw it and just move on. Another part of me wants to print these out and wallpaper the courthouse." She was quiet for a moment. "Daniel, I'm just your accountant," she said. "But if the roles were reversed, do you think she'd hesitate for even a second?" I didn't answer. I already knew. The next call I made was to a lawyer. Not Marcus, someone who didn't know Emma, didn't know our story, didn't see me as the reasonable one who would cave. Her name was Ortiz. She listened without interrupting, thumb tapping a slow rhythm on her legal pad while I talked. When I finished, she said one sentence that changed everything. "You understand this isn't about the crypto, right? It's about fraud. We pulled the divorce decree, we pulled the disclosures, we pulled every asset list we'd both signed. Crypto was never mentioned." She filed a motion with the court to reopen financial discovery based on newly uncovered evidence of undisclosed assets. Emma's response was immediate. My phone buzzed the next morning. "Daniel, call me now." I didn't. I let her talk to Ortiz instead. Within a week, we were back in a conference room that smelled like paper and coffee and bad memories. Emma sat across from me. Her expression was a cocktail of fury and calculation. "You went through my things," she said, skipping hello. "You left them on a drive in a box labeled old stuff," I said, "next to my tax documents. That's not your things. That's evidence." Her lawyer cleared her throat. "Let's all breathe. Crypto is volatile. We don't even know the current value of these alleged holdings." "We will," Ortiz said calmly. "The court has already granted a limited order. The exchange will provide records. If it's all gone, fine. If not..." She shrugged. Emma stared at me like she could set me on fire with her eyes. "You're really going to drag us through this?" she asked, "after everything I did for you?" "You didn't do for me," I said softly. "You did what was best for you. I accepted that. I swallowed it. But you don't get to steal $3 million and still claim the moral high ground." She looked away first. The records came back 3 weeks later. The balance was lower than the last screenshot, thanks to a crash she hadn't timed perfectly. It was still just over $2.8 million. $2.8 million in an account she'd never disclosed, in a wallet that had grown while she was arguing in front of a judge about how I didn't understand financial responsibility. Ortiz didn't smile when she read the statements. Lawyers like her don't gloat, they calculate. "Here's how this is likely to go," she told me. "If we push hard, the court can sanction her for non-disclosure, possibly void parts of the original agreement, maybe even refer for perjury. But that's a long, ugly road. You'll spend years paying me to watch her squirm." "And the other option?" I asked. "We negotiate," she said. "We use the threat of all that as leverage. We remind her that as a lawyer, a perjury stain on her record is a lot more expensive than money." In the end, that's exactly what we did. 3 months later, we sat in another room. Another stack of papers between us. Another settlement. No one said the word fraud. No one said perjury. On the record, it was all about rebalancing assets based on updated valuations. Off the record, Emma's eyes said everything. She wired me half. Half of the hidden crypto she'd thought she'd get to keep forever. half of the money she'd buried while telling me there was nothing left to split. 14 days later, I watched seven figures land in an account with my name on it. I'd like to say I felt triumphant. What I actually felt was numb. Money is strange like that. It solves some problems instantly. It doesn't make betrayal hurt less. It just cushions the chair you're sitting in while you remember every lie. I didn't buy a sports car. I didn't move into a penthouse. I paid off my debts. I helped my sister clear her student loans. I put the rest into boring, conservative investments and a separate account labeled in my online banking app, Second Chance. Which brings me to last night. I was sitting in my apartment, new place, better view this time, watching the city lights flicker like a circuit board. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Enjoying your second chance fund? You should. She only told you about one wallet. E. I stared at the screen. No one calls Emma E except one group of people. Her crypto friends. The ones she met in those Discord servers she said were just for memes. I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I looked at the city outside my window, at my reflection in the glass, at the version of me who once believed that everything we had was on the table. I thought the story ended when I got my share of the wallet she hid. But now I know the truth. What I found was just the first key. Somewhere out there, in a string of letters and numbers I haven't seen yet, is another version of the life she built in secret. And for the first time since the divorce, I feel something that isn't grief or bitterness. I feel curiosity because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love can lie. Numbers can't. And I'm not done following hers.